ever had gas station black coffee? It's one of the worst coffees you can ever drink on the planet. But I'm trying to drink less energy drinks, so today I didn't have time to brew any, so I'm going with the old gas station brew. We'll see how it tastes. Yeah, it tastes like ass. Anyway, today we're going to be finally checking to see if this engine block is actually salvageable. I know I said in the last video, we're gonna be taking it to an engine machine shop, which would be the smart idea to do, but I'm not a very smart guy. This is gonna be a complete budget build. We're gonna be doing this in a garage. We're gonna be power washing this. We're gonna be checking clearances here in the garage. And is it gonna run right at the end of it? Probably not. But we're gonna be here to see it together, okay? And also we're gonna be talking about why the automotive industry as a profession or career path is failing. So let's get started. Now, the first step into checking if this engine block is actually even worth a shit is you gotta thoroughly clean it, really clean it to see any imperfections that it may have, any cracks that it may have that you can't see when it's dirty, things like that. And also, I'm gonna be doing a kind of a finishing job is what it's called. I'll get into more detail later inside of the cylinder walls. And before you do that as well, you also need to thoroughly clean it. So just a side note, when you're doing anything on an engine or a vehicle, just make sure the surfaces are clean before you install anything. And also before we start, I'm gonna be using kind of a mixture of half and half of, if you can see that here, half and half of dish soap and another half of engine degreaser, just to get as much of that crap off of the engine as we can. So I'm gonna be shutting this bay door here and let's get started.
Tell me what's the point? Tell me what's the point?
All right, don't know how well you guys can see me with the contrast of the background here, but the next step is we're gonna be just kind of hand washing the little crevices that we couldn't get to on the engine block and re-oiling the cylinder walls as well. You wanna make sure to keep those lubricated whenever you're getting those wet, just so they don't get any extra rust built up in there. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that right now.
For something to get me out of the comfort zone. What I am, because you calling me in with.
All right, so like I mentioned a little bit ago, very important to lube up these cylinder walls. You don't want to leave them dry for very long. And what you could use to lube those up is just to spray either some WD-40 in those cylinder walls, or you can just use regular engine oil. Either one would work. Just use this because it's ease of access and it can. So, yeah. All right. Now we're on the opposite side of the engine here, arguably the worst side, I would say. Has a little more rust. And what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna be stone honing these cylinders. And essentially what that it's gonna be doing is it's gonna be removing kind of any surface rust that could be inside of those cylinders that could really affect the quality of the engine if it's running. You definitely don't want any rust in there when it's fully assembled. And also what I'm going to be doing is checking to see, I'm going to be doing this after, but checking to see if the cylinders are tapered. And what that means and why that's important is tapering, just as an example. This hole right here, think of it as your cylinder, okay? That is your cylinder, looking at it from the top down, and this is the bottom of your cylinder, okay, on the opposite end. Now think of it like this, right? It's sitting in the engine just like this. What tapering means is if, and this can be vice versa, but if this end is larger than this end, or if this end is larger than this end, so it's gonna be starting like this, and it's gonna shrink, shrink, shrink to the bottom. You know, it's not gonna be drastic, but it is important whenever you have a cylinder going in there, in and out, it's gonna affect the compression, it's gonna affect the performance of the engine, and it's gonna affect the longevity of the engine. And an easy way to test that is to use what are called gauges that kind of spread out at the bottom of the engine, and you can test to see how large that cylinder is at the bottom and at the top. You just do a comparison, and as long as they're pretty darn close, don't know the specifications, I'm gonna look them up, but as long as they're pretty darn close to each other, it should be golden. But first we're gonna be doing some stone honing and hopefully remove most of that rust, because if it doesn't, then this engine might be junk. So let's start with that first. One thing I learned about researching stone honing is you need to keep kind of a constant stream of some sort of lubricant spraying in there. Maybe not constant, but you need to be spraying it pretty often while you're doing it. Just like I'm gonna throw a video up like this, whenever machinists are machining anything, you need some sort of lubricant to prevent any sort of overheating that could create chipping or, you know, things that, I don't know, you just don't want that shit. And also, you want to kind of keep a medium speed on the drill. So you don't want to just you don't want to just blast it. Also, this is my first time doing this, so we're learning together. Let's get it. Okay, so let's review our work here now. Did the full stone honing on all the cylinders, and happy to admit, it looks like everything can be saved. So let's take a quick look here at some of the look of these cylinder walls. So you can see zero rust on this left bank. And if we move over to the other one where it was actually even worse, same thing here. No more rust. And I didn't have to go, longer than, God, what was it? Maybe 10 seconds on each side. Granted, these finishes could be a little better, so I am gonna still order that ball hone to get a better crosshatch pattern. And again, for those of you who don't know, a crosshatch pattern inside of a cylinder wall will give you a much better seal on your piston rings that kind of wrap around your piston, which I will get to here shortly, actually, after my story. And as well, before I forget, I did run my fingernail through all the cylinders. Perfect. I didn't feel any sort of grab or give or nothing. So we are good there. So the last portion of this video before I get into why the whole automotive industry is dying is, if you guys remember our last video, these are the pistons that came out of the engine. Yeah, they're not looking good, right? And so what I did is I got and bought myself some Evapo-Rust. This is a liquid that theoretically should remove most rust when you submerge it in it. I'm going to be pouring this in that gallon, letting it sit for about a day or two, and seeing where those pistons kind of lie after that. So yeah, I'm gonna do that really quickly. As you can see here, I went ahead and submerged all of the piston rings and the tops of the pistons into the solution of the Evapo-Rust. The rest of the connecting rod and all that sort of stuff, don't really need it. There wasn't rust on it, essentially. It was just the tops of the pistons. So I'm gonna let that sit in that solution for probably a day or two, and come back to it, and hopefully it's gonna free up a lot of those piston rings that were really stuck, as you saw in that last video. So stay tuned for that. All right, so time to get to the other part of the video here I've been meaning and wanting to talk about. So why is the automotive industry dying as a profession and a career choice? Before I do that, I'm gonna need to grab me a beer. Hey, listen, I understand it's only, midday, but come on now. Okay, so I'm sure none of you know, but I actually went to school to be an automotive technician, all right? It's called automotive technology. I went there, I learned a lot of great things, had a lot of great professors, met a lot of great people, but they do train you for you to eventually go into a dealership, to work into a dealership or a shop, whatever it may be. Just a quick note on the screen, work for a shop, not a dealership. Always, always, always. Number 2, I see 2 common things that people kind of point out as to why you shouldn't be going into this profession. Number 1, tools are extremely expensive. Mind you, I went to school more than 10 years ago, right? Old fuck, I know. More than 10 years ago, and I'm still buying more tools to this day. And also, mind you, I'm buying cheap stuff. These people are buying Snap-on, and because they need to, because they're using it every single day of their lives. Snap-on, this is as an example. This is a Craftsman, what size is this? Craftsman 11 millimeter socket, okay? This thing came in a packet, and it costed me maybe 20 to 30 bucks, right? For like a set of 15 of them. Great tool, I've been using them for years. They haven't shipped on me, they never rounded anything, they're doing great. But the only options you get and the only people who actually come out to the shops that you're working at are Snap-on, Mac Tools, or any other really expensive brand that also offer monthly payments. So that's how they get you. That's how they get you. And that's where the whole meme of like Snap-on, where you're just paying it off to the end of your life because you're always having to get tools, and that's the most disposable option to get. Number 2, you can't make money in that profession. Well, you can, but more than likely you won't. And I was the ones who couldn't make any money. When I got out of that school, I worked at a dealership for around a year to year and a half, and I found out very, very quickly, obviously with my own earnings, but the people around me, that it's very difficult to make this a successful living. You know, you always hear about the stories of the technicians who are making like 100K plus a year, right? 6 figures, they're doing great. But here's the thing you don't take into account is they're doing that one of 2 ways. Either they're extremely good at being an automotive technician, and I mean, they're very smart. They can pick up on any new diagnostic tool. They're the top 1% of the entire industry. Most people, like me, whenever you get a vehicle in, it's my first year in out of school, first 2, 3, 5, even 5 years maybe, I've seen people. You see a vehicle come in, and every issue is brand new to you. Every issue is brand new. You don't know any patterns. So what are you going to spend most of your time on? Diagnosing. You're going to spend most of your time diagnosing that issue, and guess what? At least where I was, you only get paid 1 hour for a diagnosis. So you only get 1 hour to solve an issue that more than likely no one else in town was able to solve. You get 1 hour, and if you go past that 1 hour, you're not getting paid for that anymore. You're not. And so what you see a lot of people doing is either A, they figure it out within that 1 hour, awesome technicians. 2, they start scamming because they know nothing else. And that's why you see a lot of people in the automotive industry who are just scamming unfortunate people. Really, it's not right, but at the same time, you got to understand, like, a lot of these guys that I was working around had kids and a family they had to go home to, and they had nothing. They knew nothing else. And so, in a matter of desperation, they would just start lying to make ends meet. It's a sad industry. It is. You can sit here and work your ass off, but if you're not the top 1%, you're not gonna make money the honest way. And that's just the truth. So that's 2 of the most common reasons you hear people saying that the automotive industry is dying. I don't think people talk about the third one, the third one, which I would argue is even more important than the previous 2, right? And here's where my third take comes in. Before you can even think of going into this industry, take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. And what do you see? Are you happy with the person you see? Are you upset? Are you disappointed? Or are you proud? If you're upset, disappointed, and just genuinely have no confidence or little confidence or not all the confidence in yourself, don't go into this profession. I think that's one thing people don't take into account. The reason people take so long to diagnose something is because they're doubting themselves. They're going in there They're doing their due diligence, they're doing their tests, they figure something out, but they're having to go back, retest, and retest, and retest, and retest because they're not confident in their abilities. And I can tell you, that was me, and that was many people around me. They weren't very confident in what they were looking at. They would go in there, they would fix something, and they might have been correct the first time, or the second, or the third, but they went ahead and retested, or didn't even pull the trigger on something 10 times, because they weren't confident in themselves. And on top of that, you take that home with you at the end of every night. My hair is fucked up. You take that home with you at the end of every night. I mean, there was times where I would go home and I just wouldn't be able to sleep at all. Did I torque that lug nut right? Did I set the timing correctly? Is that valve cover leaking? That woman had a family. What if the wheel falls off? What if I was just so not confident in myself and my abilities that I would take it home every night and doubt every single piece of work that I would send home. And that killed me. And that's one thing that people don't take into account. Are you confident in yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Because if you're not, don't go into this profession. And matter of fact, you're gonna carry that in any profession that you have. Look at yourself in the mirror and make sure you're happy with yourself. Otherwise, you're not gonna be successful with anything in your life. Anyway, I know that was like really long-winded, but that is my take on why the automotive industry is dying. Anyway, thanks for tuning in again, guys. Again, leave any suggestions in the comments, anything you'd like to see. Next video, I think I plan on actually driving the Corvette, getting some new camera gear, getting some shots like that to be mounted onto the actual car. So I don't have an outro. I don't know how to end this. Bye.